Ayo, what up? It's your girl, Bewitched Faun. Welcome to the first episode of Faun's Horror Corner, where I watch and go over a completely random horror movie that I find on Tubi. Today's movie was The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, which is from 1964. The description Tubi gave us is, after opening a cursed crypt, an excavation crew plans to give the ruins to a museum, while a greedy showman insists on using the tomb for an exhibit. I went into this very blind. I had never seen it prior, and unsurprisingly, there were no familiar names in the immediate cast. And I'm not super familiar with mummy movies, other than like the legendary ones with Brendan Fraser. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the next segment, Predictions Bingo. So, this segment is where, before watching, I make predictions or assumptions about the movie to see how predictable it could be, or see if it sticks into the horror subgenre tropes. Now, it's safe to say that I have not watched many mummy movies at all. These guesses were pretty rough, and it was brutal thinking of things, because I guess in my time, I just haven't watched many mummy movies other than Brendan Fraser. So let's go over the predictions. Quickly stating the obvious here, the middle is the free space. It's a horror movie, it's a given. So, there. Number 1, the mummy likes the nice lady. I initially wanted to put MILF, but I decided against that. I guessed this because I feel like older movies tend to have a bit of romanticizing the lady and the monster, and the cover for the movie definitely aided in that. Number 2, the showman definitely gets unalived. There's absolutely no way that the mummy isn't going to be petty towards this man. Number 3, the mummy gets unraveled. This was a desperate guess. It's an older movie. It's probably going to be a little cheesy, so maybe. Number 4, the lady warms up to the mummy. Maybe she realizes that he's not that bad, you know? Would you take your chances with the grown-ass man or the 3,000-year-old mummy? Probably the mummy. Number 6, we're gonna see some scarabs. I just affiliate them with Egyptian movies. I guess that's really all there is to it. Number 7, white people are going to be very disrespectful to the Egyptian culture. Self-explanatory. I feel confident in this one. And lastly, number 8, the mummy is misunderstood. This was a desperate guess. I just needed an 8th to fill the card. I think I was inspired by South Park, honestly, because I watch it too much. Now, with these predictions aside, let's get into the movie. This film starts out with a scene in the desert. Men are speeding on camels to a man who is tied up and clearly being held against his will. I should have guessed more desert shit, man. I feel silly now. I feel really silly. One of the captors pulls out a sharp, pointy object that I probably can't say on YouTube, so we'll call it a sharp little guy. And he gives the man a little stabby stab, and then proceeds to take his whole hand off, just like right off. Like it's gone. Then they cackle, play catch, and just right off with it. Now we have a change in scene. We're in a tent with our nice, very French lady, Annette. Oh, there's our girl.
What time is it now, John?
We meet her man, John. She asks for the time and mentions that her father is never late, and we learn that the father was out on an expedition and that he could have found something nice. Our girl proceeds to foreshadow a bit.
The only maiden my father's likely to meet would be mummified and at least 3,000 years old.
Should I be shipping the mummy and her dad? Did I? Then her and John have a frisky conversation, and men, presumably on the expedition team, bring in her unalived father and just drop his on the ground in front of her. Oh. Disrespect of the dead aside, immediately there is disrespect to the Egyptians, so we can mark that off on our bingo sheet as well as the free space. The Egyptian man gets accused of trying to frighten the expedition away, and they have a little debate, so you can tell there's some beef going on. A man, Sir Giles, steps in and is like, okay, kiss and make up, we're going back to finish the job tomorrow to get our treasure and get out. Our resident Egyptian, who I do believe is named Hashmi, they really don't reference his name that much, honestly, so I'm still a little iffy on that. But I'm pretty sure it's Hashmi. Hashmi makes a passing comment about how they can't run away from the mummy's curse and that they are doomed to get unalived for the act of desecration. Of course, the white folk are like, no, there's no curse. That's ignorant. Annette breaks up the argument with a scream from outside the tent, and everyone runs out, and it seems like the captors made a return to drop off her dad's hand, with the sharp little guy included. How kind. That's Insert scene change here. They are in the excavation area and are moving the sarcophagus into a big box, which I am sure they won't regret later. No major conversations of real substance really come from the scene, so I won't go over it too much. Just a mention of putting all these into a museum and how they should have some bevs to celebrate. Yeah, that's about it. And now we meet our infamous showman.
Delightful. Full of delight. We'll call it Turkish Delight.
Giles and Showman, aka Mr. King, share some Turkish delights. There's some what the f was that? There's some conversations about donating to a museum for £70,000, and our greedy little Mr. King is like, nah, hold my beer. I got something better. My own exhibit, where people pay me to see this That's it, that's his plan. Giles, a man about treating these relics right, doesn't agree and threatens to pull back from the whole project.
Oh, now then, who's being childish?
Oh my god. He laughs like Hank in Breaking Bad.
You're eating raw fish. That's all I'm saying.
After this whole debacle, Mr. King pops out and tells Annette and John that the plan's changed. We're opening up our own exhibit in London. Surprise! Mr. King tells them that he will explain the details over dinner. So, scene change. It's a close-up of the belly button of a dancer in the restaurant. For ridiculously long. It was really weird, honestly. So they all talk business, and then they shift to the curse talk. I should have guessed that the white people wouldn't believe it. That's such a given. It's such a given. The conversation gets broken up when a man comes up to their table and says there is an urgent message from Sir Giles and that they must come quick. It seems that there was a break-in, but nothing has been stolen, but the group gets called over to look at something. Sir, I've never seen a bigger dick on a mummy in my lifetime. Oopsie poopsie. It turns out that a guard was unalived, and they found him in the big crate that the sarcophagus was originally in. And Annette noticed that their list of all the relics they took from the tomb is missing. Scene change to a big ship. They appear to be sailing back to London. Annette and her man are chatting, and she mentions how something about this voyage just doesn't feel right. Well, I mean, she did just, lose her dad. John makes a joke about the mummy, but Annette stands firm that something ain't right. They say goodnight to a very drunk Sir Giles. And when he walks away, they chat about how the expedition controversy basically ended his career. And then they can hear him scream from his room. John enters in to check and see Giles unconscious on the floor. I feel like I say his name different like every time. Then proceeds to get knocked the f*** out as well. What? Annette goes to check and a man bolts out with a sharp little guy, and a fight breaks out on the ship. A mysterious simpy savior punches this man overboard and the combat ends. John walks out of what is hopefully the infirmary to find Annette chatting with this random man named Adam. Adam is asking John many questions about the attack and asks some pretty sus questions as well. Like, obviously, Giles wouldn't keep the relics in his own room, right? And Adam basically continues to interrogate this guy.
And what are your plans?
This guy is sus. He proceeds to invite the two to stay with him in his large house and insists that they stay. John isn't keen, but my god, Annette is thirsty for it. So, scene change to Adam's place. They're all having drinks, and Adam is basically showing off his expensive collectibles to Annette. They're invited to stay for dinner, and Annette is hype, but John says he can't go due to the exhibit setup. So instead of dinner, the three decide to go together to the exhibit setup.
And may the gods smile down upon our newfound friendship.
Oh, he's so sus. Scene change. We're at the place for the exhibit, and Mr. King is a brick collectively, over getting everything together and is yelling at everyone. But at least these two are having fun.
Yeah, blimey, Fred looks just like my wife. I bet you wish it did. I said you'd have to get her a dog license to take her on the street. No, put it back. Smells funny.
Cut to Annette and Adam looking at a hieroglyph slab. Annette explains that the depiction on it is of Ramses and his twin sons, Ra and Bay. Ra is a searcher of eternal life, and Bay basically just wanted some nookie. She explains that Bay was jealous of Ra and had Ra branded as a witch, and put effort into making Ra lose his title and get exiled, due to the fact that Ra was clearly the favorite son. We get a clip of Ra in his prime in the Sahara with his devout followers that name him their king, and gave him a medallion that would give him eternal life that he wished for.
Use the secret of the words of life wisely. And for the physical strength to
I can't
carry
take
out
the
his
guy
mission.
to his right seriously. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, homie. Before he was able to return to home to show his following, Bay sent people to unalive Ra in a style that was very similar to Caesar. They then cut off his hand with his rings of birth on it and returned it to Bay as proof. Cut back to Adam and Annette. Adam mentions that the group of unalivers seem to have missed the medallion he wore and is asking where she thinks it might be at. And he gets, very heated about how she doesn't know where it is, and all she's saying is just mere legend. John gets their attention, and everyone gathers around to open the sarcophagus and take a little gander at the mummy. I'm too superstitious. I was raised too superstitious to f*** around and find out with the dead. I won't even touch a Ouija board.
They're opening that coffin. Well, they can do it without me.
No, that would be me. Oh, there he is. We now get a scene of a bunch of close-ups of everyone's reactions to the mummy, and it was kind of funny. It looks kind of like paper mache. Like when you're in school and you do the paper mache on your face to make a little mask. Switching back to Adam's place, him and Annette are having a conversation.
I was a great disappointment to him.
Why was that?
He always wanted a son.
What a very foolish man.
I was about to say it's because she's a woman.
But it did work out well.
I should have, oh, I almost put casual sexism in here too. I almost put that in my predictions. She goes into what got her into archaeology and how it was all fun and games until her dad got unalived. Adam proceeds to be the biggest simp in the world. He trying to smash. And the scene continues, with him still being the biggest simp possible. Because he wants to bone. She mentions that John wants to marry, and Adam basically tells her to really think about it. And she is unsure if she really wants to marry John. Then, awkwardly enough, John walks in, and my God, it was just such an awkward scene. She's staring into space, avoiding eye contact with John, like it's rough. Then Annette just casually pulls out a familiar medallion out of her purse.
Annette, what's that? I don't believe I've seen that before.
It's just a medallion.
Just a medallion.
Oh.
No, my father did the day he died.
Oh, it's that medallion. He himself states that it couldn't possibly be from the tomb because he studies early kingdom. And it's like 2,000 years old. Like, yeah, okay, you pulled that out of your ass, Adam. Good job. John, on the other hand, is very sure that it came from the tomb. They're having a whose dick is bigger contest right now. Jesus Christ. John takes it, however, so that he can bring it to Giles so he can look into its origin. And the scene ends with Adam still being a major simp. Scene change over to Sir Giles and John. Giles is very faced, and he's clearly crushed about no longer being allowed into Egypt due to this excavation controversy, despite him being an Egyptologist. John is trying to research, and Giles has a little drunken fumble, and John lashes out at him, and Giles crushes my entire heart by saying how he's clearly lost John's respect too. I adore Giles. I might even call myself a Giles stan, and this scene made me so sad, honestly. He then left John alone to study. While John is alone, someone silently enters the room behind him in an all-black Phantom of the Opera looking fit. Is he drunk? The intruder gets behind John and knocks him out cold, steals the medallion, and walks right out. Scene change to the exhibit, and Mr. King and Hashmi are having a heated conversation about the artifacts and how the Egyptian government will, literally pay for their safe transport back to Egypt. But Mr. King is embodying Mr. Krabs himself and is only thinking about the money. The exhibit is starting soon, and John is nowhere to be found. But we do have Adam and Annette together in the audience.
Wouldn't let him be moved.
A nice kid.
Oh, look at his outfit. It was him.
We won't know that until he can tell us.
The conversation ends, and Mr. King gets ready for his big show and gets on the stage. Mr. King gets into the start of the expedition and introduces everyone involved in a nice little projector film. We get a cool scene outside of his film that looks like we're walking into the tomb like they did. Or maybe it's where they're storing the relics. I can't really tell, but it was filmed really well, and I did vibe with it.
Anubis, the patron of embalming.
Oh,
and
Anubis
guardian of the
is,
tomb, stood
like,
before
my
us.
favorite Egyptian god. And that's not a unique statement at all. I'm
As
sure
we
it's a
entered, the
lot,
dust of
but
lost centuries filled the air.
I can't help it.
It was not a
Mr. King basically goes over their discovery so that he can lead into the sarcophagus with mummy included find. After talking about the relics, he gets into talking about the curse that the tomb holds, and mentions that Ra was indeed a pharaoh.
at the opening of a pharaoh's coffin.
It was a pharaoh! Yo!
Of the mummy therein.
Let's just mark that on our bingo card while we're at it. Now, I admittedly did have to Google after watching the film and getting my rough script typed up whether or not all the mummies were pharaohs, because I got worried that I just guessed a literal fact and that it wasn't a prediction. Too late to change it anyway. But not all mummies are pharaohs, so we're good. Back to the topic at hand now. Mr. King does a very dramatic opening of the sarcophagus. And I noticed afterwards, upon watching a second time to write my rough little script, that he lies through his teeth to the audience and says, "Now, I will cut the royal seal." Like, my guy, you know good and well, you nosy already opened it. Anyways, he dramatically gets it open, and lo and behold, he's gone.
Great Scott.
Right? Or is he moving?
And here we go. I hope you're hungry for nothing.
Yeah, he's gone. They managed to lose a whole ass mummy. Good job. Bag fumbled. Cut to afterwards. They're talking to an investigator and are throwing around accusations left and right about who took the damn mummy. It's like a game of Clue. But the investigator says, I'll look into it tomorrow. And Mr. King is brick, basically.
If there's anything I can do, Mr. King. Yes, if you want to wrap yourself up in some dirty bandages.
Everyone then says goodnight and goes their separate ways. Until John comes in and goes to Mr. King and says that he thinks someone stole the mummy so they could bring it back to life. And Mr. King tells him he's a silly little goose, and he sends him home. Mr. King decides to walk home and enjoy the evening air. A, shall I say, lady of the night approaches him and asks him if she could do a little something for him. He actually, surprisingly, politely says no, and he gave her money anyway. And she, praised him as he walked away. It was actually, really surprisingly nice. I didn't expect it. Then he walks away, he goes up some stairs, and has another nice encounter. Oh,
I don't know who the hell you are, but don't joke about it.
The mummy proceeds to yeet him right down that flight of stairs. And Mr. King is never heard from again for the rest of the movie, so he is very much not among the living. So let's check that off the bingo card. Scene change, back to John walking into an inn. He's paying the hosts off to tell him where a certain Egyptian man is staying. He proceeds to then break into his room and goes through everything of his. Hashmi walks in silently and he pulls out a sharp little guy and asks John, what you looking for? We don't know yet, as we are now in a scene change with a very drunk Giles again. He sounds shit-faced. So Giles ends up finding John's notes about the medallion's translations and he reads into it. I believe he realized that it is the amulet of eternal life for Ra. And upon this realization, there's some noises occurring outside. That mummy probably looks like a big chew toy. The mummy, aka Ra, I'm gonna be honest, I bounce between the mummy and Ra so much when I talk about him, but they're the same goddamn thing. Busts into the study, and Giles tries to give him a little pew pew, but to no avail. Not Sir Giles. John and Hashmi roll up, and they seem to be on the same page with their theories and thinking that someone brought the mummy back to life, and they then agreed to go to the police together. Scene change to Big Simp Man Adam reading Annette a romantic book about love. Biggest simp award goes out to this guy. Adam informs Annette that he must leave London, but her and John can have his lavish home. But our girl says, without you, I cannot bear it. That was the worst French accent I could ever pull out of my So, they agree to run away together to wherever the hell he's going, and then they have an awkward makeout scene that felt like it was on screen for ages. Adam tells Annette that they leave the next day, so she decides to leave John a note about her just saying, deuces, and how she's, leaving him for Adam. And then we get another awkwardly long makeout scene. Fast forward. Her note is written and we see her in a dramatic robe, dress. I don't know, but pop off queen. Then suddenly glass shatters and she runs outside and she sees Adam being choked by the mummy because they're both a little freak like that. She screams and she catches the mummy's attention and he starts to slowly approach her. Adam then just shits out a bunch of Egyptian to the mummy and he just stops in his tracks. And then Annette faints. But the mummy goes to caress her hand. He does like the nice lady. That's another one off the bingo card. Oh, Midas. The mummy then returns back to Adam and he just slaps him to the floor. Then the mummy just walks away, and Adam is unconscious on the floor as John and his police squad roll in. John walks to the fainted Annette, and the first damn thing she says when she wakes up is, "Adam, where is Adam?" Oh my god, ew, what is that accent? Midas, baby. All she cares about is Adam, quite frankly, and it's pretty yikes. She does inform the group, however, that the mummy is alive and she saw it with her own eyes and that it attacked Adam, which they point out doesn't make any sense because he didn't open the tomb with them. John asks for another chance with the detective, and that's about all the context we're getting with that one. And again, Annette only cares about Adam now.
Adam, darling, are you all right?
Oof. Oof. Scene change to John and Hashmi just kind of chilling and talking about the curse.
Only those directly involved in the opening of the tomb are in mortal danger.
So why would he go after Adam? Then there's a rustling behind the curtains, and John goes to investigate. Ew. It looked like the lint that comes out of like the dryer thing. That was foul. The mummy proceeds to slowly approach John, but aha, he's caught in a rope trap. Yep, they caught the mummy under a net. Hashmi begins to plead with the mummy to punish him, to pay for his sins pretty much. Does this mummy even know English? The mummy is too strong though, and he ripped free from the ropes and gave our boy exactly what he wanted. Then the mummy literally just walks out, like nothing happened, and the cops decide to tail him as he leaves. Scene change to Annette and Adam. She mentions how she isn't sure why the mummy attacked him since he didn't open the tomb. But it's okay, because he has an answer to that. He then leads her down to the basement, where he has a huge amount of pristine Egyptian relics, and Annette looks around in awe. She finds a pharaoh's crown in absolutely perfect condition, and she mentions it to Adam.
This is a pharaoh's crown.
That has always been mine.
Adam then says he has much to tell her, and then he informs her that there are facts about Ra that she does not know. Is he one of the pharaohs? Is he the brother? Adam informs us that he is one of the sons who was cursed to eternal life. He is Bay. He's the brother! What? I couldn't have expected that. Adam tells us that due to them finding the amulet, he now has a chance to actually be unalived, but seemingly only by the hand of his brother. So he's been waiting for a long damn time and he is hype. He forces Annette to speak the words of a presumable ritual, maybe what's on the amulet. They didn't totally specify. But nonetheless, Ra appears while they continue to speak this chant.
Awake, Ra, Prince of the Desert.
He tells Ra to destroy the last of the desecrators, that being Annette that he is holding in place. She is clearly not happy. But hold on, there's a knocking at the door now. It's John and the police squad, busting in to stop Adam and save the day. Adam, however, gets too hasty and he shuts a big metal door on his hand, which just casually slices off a bunch of his fingers, which was definitely something. I probably can't show it on YouTube, but you can have the clip after the gore is away. The police squad realize that they must be underneath the main road, so they get on the move. In the meantime, Adam is leading his own group through the presumable sewers. Ra puts Annette down, and she pleads for her life, and Adam has like a little edgy edgelord moment, and he's like, hey, at least you haven't been alive for 3,000 years. You should be f***ing happy. Ra takes the amulet off of Annette, and Adam starts yelling for Ra to unalive Annette. But clearly, he's got other plans. So Adam panics. He pulls out a sharp little guy, and the two get into a tussle. Ra, he straight up drowns Adam. And Annette is clearly in a state of shock. Ra begins just walking away, and he does like a final little look back at Annette before he yoinks away a piece of brick, I'm assuming, above him. Then a bunch of brick and debris just start falling on top of him. Now, I can't tell if Annette is like bummed about it or not, so I don't want to mark off that she kind of likes him, because it's hard to tell. But she does seem shocked at least. A bunch of debris just keeps falling on Ra, and it's not looking promising. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm not sure, but I am personally assuming as much. You do not want to be breathing in all that dust. Then John and his police squad bust through the road above Annette to save her and get her out. The final scene is Ra's hand holding the amulet, and he's definitely motionless under a pile of rubble. And that is where the movie ends, so let's shift into my final thoughts. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought. Not saying that I thought I would hate it, as I do enjoy older horror. I find that there's a charm to it that I just enjoy. But I haven't really watched like a proper mummy movie. But this didn't disappoint. It was fun. It had silly moments, and I was actually like really invested in the story. I was absolutely shook at the Adam being Bay reveal. Like, I knew he was up to some shit, but I didn't know what. And I was trying to theorize in my head, what the hell is his angle? But I couldn't figure it out, so the twist/reveal actually did catch me off guard. I won't drag on too much longer. It's a fun watch, and you can watch it for free, and I definitely recommend you do, because it's kind of an old gem. Well, if you stuck around, thank you for watching. This is a new project that I am trying to get going. Horror movies are a big passion/obsession of mine, so this is genuinely fun and exciting for me. I plan on continuing this instead of the gameplay videos, so if it's up your alley, then feel free to toss a like or subscribe. You can also find me on Twitch, where I stream different games for funsies. Any social media will be linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I think I'm losing my voice now. I've never talked this much in my lifetime. I appreciate it. Stay spooky, y'all.